not on the list. I'm not.
You're not on
Rob.
We're gonna call the budget meeting to order. May 12th meeting is got a full quorum here. It's gonna be a continuation of discussing the budget as presented to us from the school system. And from that, I'll open the floor for any more comments.
Mr. Sinclair, no mind. I got some things I'd like to say. I'm gonna walk up here. Well, here we are at the budget committee meeting, and I have to say that in my 7 years of being on the county commission and 2 years on budget, this is probably one of the most critical decisions that we are going to have to make since I've been on. What Commissioner Jowler said back in December is true. We do have a demographic problem. The county school system has lost around 750 students in a decade, and that number seems to keep growing. Meanwhile, the county commission over the past decade has overfunded them $14.5 million, more than what they had to. If we could go back in time, then the commission should have reduced the funding to the school system as they lost students. It would have prepared them better for what they are facing today. I've also heard some say, well, the county commission saw this coming and they didn't prepare for it. Well, it's not our budget to prepare, it's theirs. And we're not going to add money to it if you don't ask for it. We also don't have to give it to you. Last year was the first time we did that in over a decade, right? But we can't fix the mistakes of the past school board members, and we can't fix the mistakes of our past county commissioners. We have to deal with what's in front of us right now and the future. The bottom line of where we are today and the decisions that the school board is facing, although mistakes have been made on both sides of this, it's truly nobody's fault. We just don't have the kids we had 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. They're just not there. I guess if you wanted to point the finger at someone, it should be the state, and it's not because of vouchers or mandated raises, but it's because they keep the jobs in Middle and East Tennessee and away from right here in West Tennessee. And that has caused the student and general population to decrease. Then some may wonder, seems like Union City schools seem to be growing. Why is that? I don't have that answer, and we can speculate it on all day long, but really, to this committee and that school board, it doesn't matter. Nevertheless, the county has a demographic problem, and that's just the bottom line. There has been a lot of finger pointing going on between us and them. It's their fault and their fault. I get it, it's an emotional topic, and everybody wants someone to blame all this on. I've been guilty of it as well. If we don't fund the schools, we're anti-education and don't have any business being the county commissioner. I've seen that quoted. But if we raise taxes to fund the schools, then we're enabling them to recklessly spend more. That's just what I've been told. These are things I've heard, and I've heard it all. I'm guilty of it as well. But my point is here, is that the school board is going to do what they think is best for the schools. And we, in the budget committee, we are going to do what we think is best for the whole county. And sometimes we may disagree, but that's just politics. The school board presents their budget for what they see is best for the schools, and we will allocate the money that's best and fair for all Obion Countyans. This budget committee listens to every entity that our budget book is composed of. We study every line and ask every question that needs asking to everyone that comes to us. The county school system is the only one of all the entities that we fund that is struggling financially, That's not to take a swing, it's just a fact. And it's just the way it is at this point in time. Sure, there's other entities that, we got some things to work out with. It's just the highway department is spending more on culverts, this and that. We've just got things to work out, but they're not struggling like the school system is. So with only one of the many entities that we fund struggling, I deem that as not a valid reason to place a burden on all of the taxpayers of this county by raising taxes. Since the school system is upside down $3 million, we would have to raise property taxes almost 40 cents. Actually, what was it, Shane? 44 cents? And that's just to get them to break even. And then we have next year, and the year after, and so on. Last year, we were told $1 million deficit, now it's $3 million. That has changed the game, whenever we go from 1 million to 3 million. Do I think the school system could come up with some cuts? Sure, I could recommend them some cuts I think that they could make, but that's their decision. They can't come up with $3 million, and we can't either. My decision today is that raising taxes is not the answer. We can't do that when we're funding all the other entities, such as the jail, sheriff's department, all the courthouse officials, the highway department, and many, many others. If several of these entities that we fund in this book are struggling, then that would suffice for a property tax raise, but they're not. Our job is to allocate the money in accordance with state law, and the school board decides how to use it and how to make it work. Therefore, with all this being said, I would like to make a motion that we fund the capital projects for the schools, which totals $327,000, and that the school local funding revenues remain as budgeted last year at $9,266,997. I further recommend that this financial support be adjusted based on ADM numbers supplied by the state of Tennessee. The ADM numbers used for this funding level will be those submitted by May 31st, 2025.
Bring that form of motion. Have a motion on the floor, need a second.
We get a second, we discuss.
Yeah,
Second.
Second, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Gray?
Yeah, so we had asked for some information, Harley had sent an email, I don't think we ever got that. It's hard to make decisions and without, information. So,
I'll address that if you want me to.
yeah.
You're welcome to.
Sure. First of all, Mr. Gray, y'all only asked me for one thing that you didn't ask me about for 3.5 hours last Monday, so, and that was a copy of the salary schedule, which I have for you along with a letter from our attorney explaining the salary schedule. It's been brought to my attention that even though this was sent back, dated in December, y'all haven't seen it. So, I don't mind passing it around. I've got enough for everybody plus some.
I know y'all had updated your pay scale, when was that updated?
Well, we address pay scale annually.
Okay.
That's part of the budget process for the board, is they review the pay scale annually. What you have attached on the last page of this is our proposed salary schedule for our certified staff this year. Of course, if, that's contingent on the budget being passed, funded. Obviously, with anything else, if budgets get sent back to the board, would be reevaluated. But the letter is confirming, and Mr. Conley has read this, confirmed. Matter of fact, just before he went on to his next engagement, he and I had this conversation. He's read it and said it is accurate, that the attorney that penned this is giving you accurate information. and that our salary schedule is built in compliance with state law, state board policy. We meet all the rules, regulations that we're required to follow. And failure in doing anything different is subjecting the county to litigation. So in order to not only be a good steward of taxpayers' dollars, but also protect the county from further unforeseen costs that an insurance company might not take care of. So, out of the other things that y'all asked me on the list, that was the only thing that we hadn't discussed last Monday. So, I didn't see any point in beating a dead horse. But, that's what I'm here for.
Any other comments for budget or?
I just want to say just a little bit, I'm not gonna sit here and pick apart everything that my colleague, Mr. Holman, said, but I do want, there's a couple words that I don't feel the same way he feels when we say that we overfunded Obion County schools for years and years. We prioritized funding for Obion County schools because we had the money,
I agree.
okay? And there's a lot of things I could say, but and I've told people, you know, last year we talked about raising property taxes by 3 cents, and you thought we were gonna starve people to death. Okay? And I'm not against a 4, 5, 6 cent tax increase. I know I'd be hard for me to go out and eat and face the citizens that have to pay the taxes, but we're not talking about that. We're not talking about a few cents on property assessment to keep doing what we're doing.
Correct.
We're talking about massive property tax increases. And,
At 44 cents this year, and there'll be another 40 cents next year.
Well, even if we did 40 cents, with that much of an increase, we have to have a public meeting, right? Like, to raise taxes that much, we have to have a public meeting, and they're gonna come in.
but to finish what I'm saying, the taxpayers of Obion County aren't gonna go along with that. So, I can't support a massive tax increase. We've gotta have to change what we're doing. And I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, it's just we're faced with the circumstances that are laid before us. We had over 4,000 kids spread over 7 schools. I don't know how many years ago it's been now, 15, 20, 25 years ago. Now we got about 2,800 spread over the same infrastructure and school buildings we've got now, and that's the bottom line.
About 3,000 once you throw a pre-K kids in
Okay,
there.
all right. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, oh, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with that. Mr. Holman said one thing, well, he said several things I agree with and disagree with, but, one thing he said, I'm glad he did say this, was, you know, this is gonna come back up. I mean, it's, the one thing as you discussed, funding for 14 years, I didn't hear anything about cost over 14 years. I didn't hear anything, you know, there was no consideration of what it costs to put gas in a bus, what it costs to feed a kid, what it costs to pay our staff, so wages that they can afford to live in Obion County even. I mean, so those things also have to be considered. And there's, you know, you can call it overfunding. I agree with Mr. Elligood, it's called prioritizing education in your county. And if you've done anything on research on schools and on education of your population, you can either fund schools or fund jails, is a simple way to put it. Because, or fund more hospitals, because, you know, the more educated your population is, the lower your crime rates are and the lower your health incident problems are. That's a fact. That holds everywhere, well beyond putting out a workforce that is able to sustain the industry or fill industry that comes into the community if we ever get back to the point where we're having industries interested in Obion County. You know, we're putting a lot of money into training kids, getting them ready to not only go to college, go to the military, but go into the workforce. And they're going into the workforce, not in Obion County. I mean, you know, and I wish I had a report. We got it here a couple of weeks ago. You know, the three areas that we're growing the most in Obion County are not high skilled jobs. They're minimum wage jobs. So, you know, that's just a fact. That's where we are. Which I agree. I mean, it puts you, and I don't envy your position you're in one little bit, because you're in a tough spot. You are. Because we're dealing with a county, like it, as Mr. Holman said, like a lot of counties in West Tennessee are dealing with right now, shrinking populations, shrinking workforce. Problem is, the public services of those counties still exist, and everybody's getting faced with it. I mean, it's why Weakley County had to do a 40-cent tax raise last year. Our neighbor had to go up 40 cents, because that's just, like O'Brien County had been several years since there had been any increase in revenue in the county, and they had to eat it all at once. That's not my position to tell you, not my job as director of schools, not to tell y'all what taxes need to happen. That's not my job. It's not, I am a tax-paying citizen of the county. If you want me to ask me outside of my professional role, I'll tell you what I think about that. But, at this point, I'm representing the Board of Education. It's not my place to tell you how to do your job or what to do. But I will say, I don't think overfunding schools is the right term. I mean, I think you were giving the schools the money it took to run the school system in its current setup. And that was what it was. And that number has exceeded the revenue. So, we've either got to change our operating procedures, or we've got to have more money. And then, if we change our operating procedures, which is from what I'm hearing from the motion made, that's what's gonna have to happen. We'll adjust the best we can, and we'll do our best to try to balance our budget. But know this, I'll be standing here this time next year saying, okay, cost went up, and I've adjusted it, and there's no more adjusting to be made. So now now the needing the money is, gotta be there. Of course, I've shared this frustration with a couple of members here that I talked to outside of these meetings. One time in my tenure as director of schools, that I didn't ask the county for more money, because you said, we gotta ask. Well, I ask every year, except for last year. Last year was the only time I didn't ask. The county's school general fund got cut $1.2 million. Was moved, 1.2 million was moved from the school fund to the county general fund in order to help balance their budget. At the same time, they took 1.3 out of their fund balance, so they were really 2.5 in the hole, on top of having cut expenditures by $1 million. So, some of what you said about school being the only one in trouble is not 100% accurate.
What else?
So, anyway, y'all have a decision to make. Whatever your decision you make, I will then carry it back to the Board of Education, and they will make the adjustments that they need to at the budget at that time. By law, we have 10 business days to return a budget to you.
Just to clear up, the county didn't lose money last year. We moved federal funds through us.
I'm just looking at your budget, and it said you had
and we were
1.3 million
passed-
on top of the 1.2 that the school was moved from the school fund.
Correct.
to the county fund.
It looks like that on paper, but in reality, we were a pass-through for federal funds
I understand that completely.
to fund utility districts, to fund the cities, for utility projects to the tune of about $3 million. So we have not mismanaged county funds.
Not including calling anybody mismanaging. I'm just stating what the budgets say. I'm just reading the paper and quoting it back out, what it says.
Yeah.
I mean,
Any more comments?
I will say, comment made about our, I'm not sure the exact words you used about our spending, but Mr. Gray brought a great point about mismanagement. All I would say is look at our audits if you think we're mishandling our money.
I wasn't implying that y'all mismanaged anything.
No, you didn't, you didn't.
I was just saying that, the paper doesn't always show, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
That's right.
About your budget. I'm
That's
sure there's
exactly right.
things I like to
Excellent
see on
point,
that
Mr.
paper, when you explain it, I don't understand, so.
So I do appreciate those that were in attendance at the last budget meeting and you for going through probably 3.5 hours of grueling questions and y'all did an excellent job at answering those questions, but, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed?
I sustain.
Okay, sustained.
Just because I don't have the information that every other commissioner has in that 4-hour meeting, because due to an illness, I wasn't there. And I would like to look into that before this goes to the full commission for a vote.
All right, so the motion passed. Any other business for this committee?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
No.